Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the regular Board of Selectmen meeting to order January 5th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. In attendance, we have Selectman Jim Measham, Selectman Jim Lampos.
No, I'm John.
John Measham, sorry. John and Jim. And First Selectwoman Martha Shoemaker. Thank you. We have a few members of the press and we have one member of the public here. We have a few people online as well. Okay. So, information items, communications, correspondence. Some of the things that we've heard from lately, we are actually going to be discussing under new business. I know that we got one letter today about the WPCA, but I haven't had time to read it yet from Stephen Ross. And I will read that when I get back to the office. Other than that, it was a little quiet over the holidays. Communications, we've been getting in appointment letters and also applications for Citizen of the Year. Thank you to Limelight for doing a special article on that. That brought in some more responses. And those will be processed for the end of the month on January 26th, our meeting at that time. Actually, Citizen of the Year, we announced it on the 20, also the 26th, right? Yeah, same date, big day. Okay. Anything, John? Correspondence?
No.
Jim?
Just that Ross letter.
Okay. So, moving on to public comment. Kevin, I know you're here for one of our old business items, so we're going to hear from you later. Is there anyone online who would like to offer public comment? No from Mary, no from Dennis, no from Scott, somebody AM. Oh, that's maybe I need it. Okay, so, okay. Dennis, you want to say something? You want to unmute yourself?
Happy New Year, everybody. I hope
Happy
it's
New-
better than last year. It's now been about 15 or 20 days since the referendum that was overturned in a majority of no votes. I believe it is now the chance for the selectmen, the residents of Soundview Sewer Coalition, and outside persons such as testing labs, alternative to sewers, especially Dave Potts from Geometrics. He's a very, very knowledgeable individual. I think we all need to sit down and have a serious conversation prior to the January meeting of the WPCA on the 13th. I'm available. I hope everybody else is. And this is our chance to dictate what the town will do, and not Deep. Deep is a paper tiger. That's all they are. They have no standing here. You guys are the bosses. You guys hold the purse strings. And that's what we all decided in December 16th, that we weren't going to go along with this. I hope we can all get together. I'm available, and I know Mary will probably be available on certain days. But that's what I'd like to see happen, and as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is Mary Daly. Hi, Dennis.
and select persons. I really appreciate all the work that you guys all do all year round, not just this month or December, but I know you work vigilantly for this town. Happy New Year's, and we wish you the best. I agree with everything Dennis just said. I couldn't have said it any better. We'd be more than willing to get together and speak about alternatives, bring Dave Potts back in, look at other alternatives done in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Other states are moving forward and we're behind. We should catch up, and we should really get Hawks Nest an answer. They've waited quite some time, since 2019, on their retesting. There are things we need to do. And I welcome your support, and I hope that this new year brings some kind of end to this project one way or the other. Thank you.
Hey, is there anyone else that would like to offer public comment? Okay. So hearing none, we're gonna move on to the approval of minutes from December 15th. Jen, thank you for submitting them. And do we have any changes or edits, revisions that we need to make? John?
The only thing that stuck out to me was under number 8, the last bullet point. Selectman Lamppost asked if there could be clarification from Eric Knapp and the land use office regarding the clear cutting on Flat Rock. I know we had a discussion about clear cutting versus selective cutting versus lumbering and forestry. So I just wasn't sure if that's the term that Jim actually used for that.
I don't recall if that was how I phrased it. And it was just a general question on whether that controversy.
On cutting, right?
On
Yeah.
cutting.
Yeah, I didn't.
Because I know it was sitting out there. I didn't know what the resolution was, but however I phrased it, it wasn't meant to characterize what was being done on Flat Rock. It was more just a general question as to what the resolution was.
I think we should eliminate the word clear, because I don't think we were talking clear cutting. Would have been
Just say
very
cutting.
different. It was just been cutting.
It was, my recollection is it was a inquiry about the tree cutting
Right,
on Flat Rock. So maybe we could just change it to tree cutting.
tree cutting, yeah. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept those minutes, approval of minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended for December 15th.
I will second.
No further comments, hearing none, call for a vote. All those wish to approve the minutes December 15th as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you both. All right. Next up is new business. First of all, John, just so you know that we put in a policy into place that ends during the first 2 years of my term for Suzanne, anytime tax refund that came out that was over $2,499, it had to go before the Board of Selectmen. So we have one person who overpaid their taxes and needs a refund. Basically, they paid off their house and their check came in from escrow and there was a mismatch of those. So we need to approve this refund of $4,351.49 with a request from Suzanne Thompson for the property at 189 Mile Creek Road. So if I could have a motion.
Make a motion to refund the owner of 189 Mile Creek Road the amount of $4,351.49.
I will second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the refund of $4,351.49, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you both for that. moving on to the next item, which is the proposed Halls Road Sidewalk Committee. So I want to hand you out first. This is something that you can both see. This is from our engineer, our town engineer. But they came up with they've done a lot of these site connectivity grants in the other towns. And this is their proposal. It does not have a budget on it because they're not sure which of these things we would want to see. We are not making a decision on this today because both of you are just getting this for the first time. And I haven't had time to totally review some of the tasks. This may be something that we would leave to our committee, but I also think that all three of us should be totally aware of it. We have the option of also going out to an RFP for others to weigh in on it if so intended. But we do have our rates that he will fill in once we determine what it is exactly we want done for us. So that's just informational basically for both of you that you can review. If you have questions, send them to me. We can send them on to the engineer. And if you want to go directly to Aaron and ask him any questions, just please CC me on it so that I know you've been in contact with him for billing purposes. Okay.
Just one thing I want to throw out there. I believe with the terms of our grant, there'll be, DOT will be assigning a project manager. And we'll have an initial meeting. So I think before we make any sort of moves, we'll just want to consult with the project manager and see what steps they want us to take in what order. I mean, it's nice to have this. It's great. I think we should have our initial meeting before we go too far along.
When do we expect that?
What? Did not read that we would be getting a project manager, but we would be getting a grant, someone who would be our grant coordinator.
Right.
This is for
Well, it would be a point person. Well, it's a project manager for the grant. It's not a project manager for the construction.
right,
It's for the grant.
right. So I don't think that would, what I'd like to do is to try to have the three of us work up some verbiage for the charge for the sidewalk committee at this point in time.
Mhm.
To determine, and it doesn't have to be finalized today, but it should be that we're moving along. Usually the grant coordinator works very closely with Anita because of billing, et cetera, and that's fine. But I do want to, there's a lot of other things that we need to put into place before this and how we want to do it. But I think that since this is the month when we appoint people, I think it would be nice if we could come up with some initial ideas of what we want this committee to be charged with, how many people we want on it, and if we want anyone with any special expertise that we're looking for this type of project. So I'd like to get some ideas from you so that I could work on the charge.
Well, luckily we have precedent. We have the Community Connectivity Grant Committee that did the same sort of grant for Soundview Phase 2. Soundview Improvements Committee for Phase 1 of that project, and the Ferry Road Sidewalk Committee.
Okay.
And I would assume, at least with my knowledge working on the Soundview stuff, it was a fairly narrow charge, but that did allow us some leeway. So our charge was to oversee the administration of the contract.
And I'm assuming you chose the contract too. You went out to bid.
We went out to bid. Yes, and we chose the contractor. Also in the design phase, worked through all the design issues with the local property owners, made decisions on, design questions. Sometimes it was, what side of the street is this going to be on, to how do we get around a utility or what have you. There's a lot of little things. So the committee should have some leeway to make those decisions. And also general landscape improvements that would go along with it. Like our second phase, the connectivity grant actually paid for the improvement of the transit stop, the buses stopping on the street. So we developed that bus stop using the leftover connectivity grant because we accomplished the sidewalk under budget. So we're able to accomplish that. So it'd be nice for that committee to have that sort of leeway if they have extra money, more trees, or, whatever they decide. So, but those worked well. I think Ferry Road and Soundview worked really well. So we should use those as a model.
Okay.
When, do you have an expectation when the meeting with the point person or representative would happen, or?
I don't know. We got this award letter a little while ago.
Yeah.
So it should be, they have not reached out yet, right?
Who sent that one?
This one
You got a few.
came from Kimberly, let's say.
Yes. So I can reach out to Kimberly
Yeah.
and see, but usually my knowledge of working with the few grants that we have that I've had, it's basically once you start getting ready to build something, that's when you reach out to the grant coordinator. But I'm happy to reach out to Kimberly to see if we'll hear from the grant coordinator first. In the meantime, I would appreciate both of you filling me in on size of committee, anyone with any special expertise that you think. And if you can do that, and then we can work together.
I think we have to have historic district representation because it's going to touch on the historic district. We need property owners in Halls Road. Perhaps the institutions there, businesses, and then residents at large is always good, because this will be essentially a town project.
So after the first 125, how are we gonna do this? Because we really need a rough number of who's gonna, like maybe a business owner basically we need business owners from the north side of the street.
Right.
Not so much. And then, I'm thinking like 10 to 12.
At the most, yeah.
Yeah.
It should-
John, do you see differently?
No, I think it'd be nice to have somebody with some general construction knowledge or engineering, civil engineering type background, or it would certainly add to that mix. So I wouldn't. 10 sounds like a nice round number with.
Or do we want to keep it to an odd number since?
Keep making 9. So
9.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll try to come up, I'll look at the 2 charges for the Sound View and for Ferry Road, do a draft, send it to you both ahead of time, and then we can make some changes and then hopefully vote to approve prior to. And then advertise for members who might be interested. Certainly, if anyone's listening and they're interested, they certainly could send us a letter of intent that they intend to apply ahead of time.
I've already had people express interest for being on it.
Okay.
So they perhaps already submitted applications.
Nobody has.
No one's,
No
okay,
one
okay.
has. I have not seen one come through. All right, then, Jim, we're lucky enough to be informed that you received a grant from UConn and SLR International Corporation, and I'd love it if you'd share a little bit of information about that. And
Yeah, happy to say
I
the
copied all this for you.
grant batting average has been really good. So we have a lot on our plate all of a sudden. So
Yes, we do.
this is I consider this to be a fairly important grant. It's from Sea Grant Connecticut, UConn, part of their Long Island Sound Resiliency Planning Support Program. And what this does is it fully funds a resiliency study for our town, so that Obviously we have a lot of threats just by the natural lay of the land. So we have threats from storms, we have threats from, riverine flooding and coastal flooding. Also, we don't think about it, but wildfires, we're very forested. Some parts that are hard to reach. We have residents within the forest. So what this grant does, and again, it's no money from the town. This is just our volunteer labor that's going into it. They're paying for the consultant to work with us. It is to survey what our risks are, to prioritize our risks, to identify solutions that are doable, that can be funded, and that we can prioritize. And that would allow us to go out for further funding once we identify what our greatest risks are. And this isn't, only to property, but it's also to our infrastructure, electricity, we have some public water, communications, so that we can prioritize the threats. We can identify solutions that we can immediately begin proceeding on. And just by the nature of this grant, it's eco-friendly. They're looking for land-based solutions, nature-based solutions. So we're not talking about big Army Corps of Engineer projects. But having identified the risks and having identified potential solutions, we can then move forward to get more funding, get more grants to actually implement those solutions. And part of what we're going to want to do is engage the public at the very start. So we're going to need a committee to administer this grant, and it's going to be based. In the first meeting, we're going to have representatives from various commissions and committees, or commissions and boards, rather, in town that deal with land use. So inland wetlands, obviously, flood and erosion control, obviously. But we also very quickly want to set up a committee to have residents at large on it, who have interest, people that have any special knowledge in this field. I know there's just going around town talking to people, there's an amazing amount of expertise in this town. So it would be great to be able to get some of those folks on this. And we're going to be doing a lot of community outreach. So the attempt will be, and the hope is, that we can all move forward together on this, realizing, I think everyone realizes, we've been, very lucky, and but we want to try and look forward and find out what's the best way to deal with threats from natural disaster. And this grant will help us in that first step. And that first step should take about 2 years. And then that will set up our ability to strategize and to implement over the long term.
So the grant actually, because of the way you wrote the grant, that we actually have the committee members somewhat
Yeah.
defined.
Yeah, we've identified that, yeah.
And so we do have that. Again, we'll have take the charge. I would also believe that this falls into alignment with our natural hazard mitigation plan.
It's actually dovetailed with it. It's going to be based on it, not only the one we have currently, but as we're revising it, the new one's going to be coming out this year.
We actually have a
Yeah.
meeting next week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so this is going to build on that. A lot of work, especially emergency management. I mean, hats off to Dave Roberge, who's done a lot of work in this area. Land use, not so much. So this is going to help us on the land use side. Emergency management, we've done a great job. Land use we haven't really addressed, and this will help us, I think, in that prospect.
And you did include the flood and erosion control board also
Oh, sure, yeah.
as a member,
Yeah, we have.
because there are certainly people there that I know would be interested.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to be central in this.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh. So our stakeholders, the initial meeting, We would include representatives from emergency management, public works, land use planning, zoning, inland wetlands, conservation, open space, flood and erosion control, affordable housing.
Great.
And then we're soliciting the public after that. So, yeah, I mean, it has to be a wide ranging discussion. And some of it may be something as simple as acquiring marshland so it doesn't get developed, currently undeveloped marshland. Because one of the keys to resiliency, as we've seen in all of our storms, I mean, if you look at the marshes on Blackhall River, the amount of water they can absorb is astounding and discharge very quickly. So those marshes will be advancing as we see with sea level rise or just with more intense storms. The more we can acquire marshland or land that is subject to marsh advancement and dedicate it as open space, and I don't mean usable open space. I mean the way that the Mile Creek open space is the south of 156, where it doesn't have trails. It's just open marshland. That will really help in our resilience. As we see here, we have the same amount of rain that New York City does, but New York City people actually drown in their basements because they have no permeable soil. All their marshes have been filled in and developed, and we're pretty lucky. We have trouble where we filled in marshes in the 50s, but we still have a lot of marshland here, but a lot of it's privately owned and under threat. And it's been identified by the Nature Conservancy. And if we have an ability to purchase some of that, it would be great. So that is part of this. It could set up an ability to do that.
So besides the people on the Resiliency Action Committee that you've identified within the grant, which you requested within the grant, how many outside just residents are you interested in adding to that?
We haven't specified the number on that.
Again, trying to keep it.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able, because just ticking off all the people that I just mentioned,
Right.
I don't think all of those committees are going to be able to come up with a representative. We want to contact all of them, include them in the process, whether they send a dedicated person to sit on the committee or whether they're consulted, asked to come in and monitor the committee. But already we're talking,
Eight.
yeah. So I think we would need 3 or 4 people from the public on
So
it.
maybe a total of 11.
Yeah.
You better find some volunteers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think people will want to be on this, and there are, if we can find people that this is their area of expertise, there are a lot of people in town who this is their area of expertise. Unfortunately, they're all busy, but if we can convince 1 or 2 to help us out here, it'd be great. I think it's a terrific opportunity for the town. I was really psyched when we got this.
And I think in our paperwork, it says the initial meeting with Sea Grant is February. I
Yes.
believe that's the
Yes, that's
timeline.
what we're shooting for.
So
Yeah.
we would hope to try to put this together. So you are right with, if I share this with those commissions that you mentioned. And
Yes.
say that we're going to be looking for a rep. And that way in their January meeting, they can put that on their agenda.
Yes, because that initial meeting with the consultant, who incidentally is SLR Corporation, and they've done work everywhere from Nantucket to down the Connecticut coast. They have a very good reputation. They're in Guilford, New Haven. So the initial meeting will be with the town stakeholders, with the people that we identified within the town. And at that meeting, strategize public involvement and how to get people.
So the budget is 57,900?
Yeah, the grant that came through, they don't give you, because you're not really spending any money. It was essentially $100,000 grant. But what they do, which is unique, is Sea Grant does the RFP, Sea Grant goes out and finds the consultant. So they get bids and then they choose the consultant for you. So they got this for 57,000. So essentially that's the value of the grant.
Got it.
It could have been more, you know, it would have been less than 100,000 no matter
So
what.
do you foresee any costs to the town?
No, we specified that as we went through, that there would be no cost to the town. It would be done, what our cost is sweat equity, essentially. It'd be meeting hours and, you know, organizing.
The
But-
second
but
phase
there-
of this could have.
Right, but there could be costs asked for later on if things are
Oh,
identified.
if things are identified, yeah, we'd have to have that
Right.
discussion at that point.
And I think flood and erosion control has also identified some of areas of concern, so I think that.
Well, that's
they
gonna
would-
have,
they
we're
would- they
gonna
would
need
be-
their expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be part of this information gathering process is going to have to draw on all the information that we have already. That's why it's important to have all of these representatives involved so that we're not missing something and we're not prioritizing something that's, you know, not a top priority.
I think too, that one of the greatest things is with our virtual capabilities, that people can be either on the road or at home and still attend these meetings and be a vital part of a committee. Somebody has to be here to start the meeting, but other than that, I mean, voices can be heard.
Yeah.
So if you can't make every single one, we certainly can make some allowances for virtuals. All right, so I'll put together the wording a little bit for that, just so that we have a charge going forward for our town clerk, because there is going to be a request for that. And to draft that as well, and send off to you. Meanwhile, we're asking the land use boards to put that on their agenda for the January meeting. So you sort of covered GC and D, so I'm good.
All right.
All right. So old business, so we have Melinda Kronfeld, our assessor, and we have Kevin McMahon here. They've worked on a committee. John, I believe you sat in
Yes,
as well, and BJ was also on. So would you guys like to come forward? The first thing that we're going to look at is the veterans exemptions, the local options. Melinda's going to hand those out to all of us. She made some changes this afternoon since we got the initial
Thank
email. So please use these versions versus the ones that you might have moved. And Melinda, if I'm correct, we need to make a decision on this one, the veterans exemptions, by the end of the month.
It would be preferable by the end of the month, by the signing of the grand list, so that we don't have to then change the final numbers after the closing of the grand list. Since it's kind of a significant change and could change our budget.
Okay.
So if we can do the final vote, yes, prior to the 31st of January, when the grand list gets signed, it would make it an easier budget process. There are a handful of changes that we've discussed in the past about local options that were allowed through Public Act 25-168. It did not include the entire Public Act, but it is included in your emails and can be posted online if we need to. So there are a couple considerations that we need to vote on as far as public options or municipal options go. One of them allows the town to exempt up to 2 acres of land for every veteran that is that has applied under our permanent and total disability exemption, which currently allows for the entire dwelling that they occupy to be exempt. That current number, with all exemptions already applied for the 2025 grand list, is a total of 5,243,000. That is with no options, just following the statute as it is now. The options that have been allowed are to include the building lot up to 2 acres or up to 2 acres in general. The building lot with a cap to value. So there's a bunch of different options that we can apply. The cap to value, the median cap for this current grand list would be having all assessment exemptions at 403,250. There are currently 5 veterans that their building only gets affected by the median cap. And then there are 12 veterans that would be affected if we added in the land for the median cap. The 2 acres of land only excludes 2 veterans. We only have 2 properties that currently exceed 2 acres of land, and the 2 acres of land is the maximum cap. So nothing over 2 acres of land is allowable. There are a couple other options that can be added in. One of them is to allow for an exemption for service members that have passed prior to the October 1 of 2024 original enactment date. We have 2 remaining spouses that do fall into this. The passing date of their veterans was well prior to 2024. So we would need to pick a date to go back to. So a start date as far as back as we want to go. And then we have no veterans that have passed since the 2024 implementation of the statute. There was a previous local option that allowed for Gold Star veterans. I think that's
Gold Star family members, yeah.
family members.
Veteran would have passed to prove the Gold Star.
Correct. Okay. So there was a previous municipal option that allowed for Gold Star family members to receive an exemption. We never enacted it. So it is one that we did not adopt, but needs to be addressed because it includes an APA exemption, the same exemption that would be applied to our permanent and total disability to those Gold Star exempted families.
Mhm.
We have one family that would fall under this particular option. We have never enacted the option to begin with. So it was a option that has been out there for a few years that we never enacted.
Just one comment. The term Gold Star sometimes gets misused when in a civilian community. I mean, myself being a veteran, John being a veteran, I'm not sure if anybody else is, but Gold Star means the service member was killed in a combat action, not just passed or had a heart attack or whatever, but the family member left behind is the Gold Star family.
Mhm.
So it's very, very narrow definition of what Gold Star actually means.
We would have to enact an entire ordinance to then apply toward that.
And you said we have one family here
We
in
have
town?
one family here in town.
Whose service member was deceased in a combat action.
Right, and they do receive an exemption under 1281 under the general exemption, which is $42,000 currently for that particular exemption. The other option that we need to review is our current local option. We need to bring that into alignment with our current requirement for income limits. We have a $1,000 exemption that is in addition to our income-based veterans. The current ordinance limits our income to $10,000 for a single person and $12,000 for a married person. Our current state income limits are $18,000 for a single person, $21,000 for a married couple, and that is income in excess of Social Security and veterans benefits. So it's any adjusted income after Social Security and veterans benefits. The numbers as they stand right now, which I know I've thrown a lot at you, so just bear with me. The numbers as it stands right now, we have 451 military with exemptions totaling 12,198,300 in assessed value. With our current mill rate of 16.23, it is 197,978 reduction to tax revenue. Our APA members, who are totally disabled, currently receiving only the building value, receive 5,243,000 of that 12 million, which is a total of $85,094 in tax revenue. In 2024, there were 13 veterans that received the exemption. We currently have 19. We do have 4 that have been denied due to the fact that they homestead in another state. So we have a total of,
Can you say that number again? How many were denied?
there were 4 denied
Because they homestead.
because they homestead somewhere else.
Yep.
The law is very specific about your primary residence.
Right.
It is correct. So over the 2024 grand list, we've increased from 13 to 19 already. Was to create a kind of a stop gap so that we don't have millions of dollars in exemptions coming off the grand list. Our particular median is fairly high. Our median assessment is 403,250. That's after the inclusion of condominiums, is all residential property median cap. Without the inclusion of the condos, it's 419,250 or 4,019,550. It was 599,000 is our cap. The recommendation while we were in the working group was to create a cap. So I've given the breakdown of what that would look like on the final page. We currently have, with building lots only, that 5,243,000 in assessment reduction using last year's mill rate of 16.23. We have $85,094 coming off the grand list in tax dollars. If we include the building and building lot only, so that does not include any excess acreage or outbuildings. Outbuildings are not included anywhere in the statute, so that will always be an exclusion. We have a reduction of 7,896,400 with a total tax reduction of 1,128,159. Thank you. If we were to implement that cap of 403,250, our building value with the cap, and like I said, we had 5 properties that were affected by the cap, would be 5,060,200, which is a total tax reduction of 82,127. If we include building lot and building with the cap, we have 12 properties that end up with a reduced assessment, but the total reduction to assessment is 6,548,100 with a reduction in tax dollars of 106,275. The last item on this list is the TDIU. One of the changes to the exemptions allowed for us to include veterans that have total disability, unemployable.
Individual unemployability.
Thank you. The individual
There's 2
unemployability.
different categories when it comes to veteran, not to check
Please,
it, but
please.
being a veteran myself, the terms P&T stands for permanent and total. TDIU is temporary disability, individual unemployability. It could be a condition that could last 3, 4, 5 years that can be fixed at some point in time.
Mhm.
That's the individual unemployment. It's temporary, not permanent. And I think the law is kind of specific on the permanent P&T.
Mhm.
So if those veterans throughout their CMP, which is compensation and pension exams through the Veterans Administration. If the TDIU gets converted to PT, which is permanent total, then they would be eligible for this exemption. But the temporary is not eligible, under my understanding.
Correct.
Okay.
So temporary would be things like leukemia, any of the blood disorders that come out of service. There's a handful of ones that we see as they come across our desk. We currently have 2 veterans that qualify under the TDIU. Their current exemption is that cap of exemption, which is the $42,000 in exemption, which is about $194 in tax using the current mill rate. The addition of the TDIU would allow for those under TDIU to qualify under the APA exemption, the total and permanent disability, even though that's not what their exemption qualifications allow for. So that's one of the municipal options. There's a lot. I think that's it as far as the local options, the additions.
We're not doing cars yet.
We're not doing cars yet. That's second. Yeah.
Cars are only if a person owns no property whatsoever.
Yes.
Then the car could become eligible.
Yeah, so cars are a whole nother question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of the permanent and total disability veterans that we have currently apply to their homes. There is the option to allow for a car if a permanent and total disability veteran does not own a house. Prior to the
Do we have any
changes,
situations like that
that
you know of?
we do not any longer because they have fixed some of the things that excluded some of our permanent and total disability veterans. The original statute did not allow for properties in trust. They also did not allow for tenants, life use tenants. They did not allow for any widows or minor children. The current statute going forward, starting October 1 of 2025, includes properties in trust for the benefit of the veteran, widows, minor children, the properties held in life use. They were exclusions that were, they didn't mean to leave them as exclusions. So they've fixed most of those things. It has fixed the one veteran that was on his car versus on his house.
Okay.
Now we have all of them on our house. The other thing that it extended to was it fixed the ability for properties that were condos to be included, mobile homes to be included. We do not have any of those currently. That doesn't mean we're not going to, which is why when we're talking about the median income, we need to include those items. The median value, we need to include those. And then the exclusions that now are in place starting October 1 of 2025 are it excludes any commercial units and it excludes any rental units. So if any portion of the dwelling is rented, then that gets excluded out of what the veteran benefit applies.
So if they have an in-law or something, or an accessible.
If they have, yes, if they have an accessory unit, or
Yeah.
if they have additional buildings on their property that they currently rent, those all get excluded and moved to the outbuilding category.
Just as an FYI for the group, the original law was Connecticut House Bill 5491, which was enacted in 2023, effective in 2024. And then when the bill got passed, they realized there were some flaws within the bill, which created Public Act number 25-168. And the paragraph that Melinda was referring to is paragraph echo on page 2. I'll read it real quickly. For assessment years commencing on or after October 1st, 2025, any municipality may, by vote of its legislative body, i.e. our Board of Select Persons, in a municipality where the legislative body is a town meeting, by vote of the Board of Select Persons, provide that for any individual receiving the exemption under the subdivision for a dwelling described in subparagraph A/India of this subdivision, not more than 2 acres of a lot upon which such dwelling sits shall be exempt from taxation. So that's the laws that Melinda's referring to, that our working group digested, if you will, and came up with the recommendations for the board.
Yeah.
So my question is, this is the first time I've heard town meeting. So does this, if we make a decision, does this have to go to town meeting?
So
No.
the vote of Board of Selectmen would be to exempt the house and up to 2 acres of land. The ones that would be by legislative body are the TDIU and the Gold Star.
Okay, so those would be recommendations that we would make to a town meeting.
Yeah.
Which we are having at the end of the month. So-
The ones that are specific to vote of the Board of Selectmen are the increasing the up to 2 acres of building lot, and then also putting the cap.
And the other recommendation from our working group was also what Melinda mentioned prior to the exemption was the income levels to be in accordance with the state. And if the state adjusts it, our town should adjust in accordance with the state. That was going to be a recommendation from our working group.
I was gonna say, this is not gonna stay the same for years. It's gonna
No.
change as the state
Right.
changes.
We as a
The
group-
wording should change to reflect that it's the state minimums rather
Correct.
than
Yeah.
an actual number.
Right,
Whatever that state number is, our town should go in accordance with that.
okay.
And did the working group have a recommendation for the cap? Meet the median income cap?
So the median income cap is currently set at whatever it was set when it was originally decided. And quite honestly, even in the statute, or in our ordinance, which I included, it doesn't even originally refer back to the local ordinance. That has since been changed. It's been changed like in the 80s. It said that it should adjust as the state adjusts. For some reason, our wording was never updated. So I am recommending that because we have this ordinance already on record and we're reviewing our veterans, it's a great time to then actually put that wording in our current ordinance to make sure that that number adjusts. The numbers that are in our ordinance are too low to qualify any of our veterans for that additional funds. We actually do not have any veterans that qualify. The numbers are too low. If we were to change our wording to meet what the state says it should be, which is the 18 and 21, and the wording then also says, and it should adjust as the state adjusts their numbers. That should be included because it's what we should include. And it just was never, our ordinance was never reviewed for those purposes.
I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand. We also have another issue before us as to whether we should put a cap
Oh, got it.
on
Yes.
the maximum tax exemption. That would be based on
That's
the
based on
median assessed value.
the median assessed
And
value.
anything over that would not be exempted. So if you had a house that was $600,000, 200 and change, or 100 and change would not be exempted.
Correct.
Is there a
Yes.
recommendation from the working committee on that?
I think that we as a group were somewhat in agreement that, I mean, if your house is worth $2 or $3 million, then you're probably doing fairly well. You know, and if you've got 5 or 6 acres of land, you're doing okay here in Old Lyme. So our recommendation, I think, was to go with the cap and the 2 acres. Am I correct in saying that, Melinda and John?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I saw Putnam I think it was Putnam, it just enacted the cap.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if and it didn't seem to be too controversial up there, so.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, we live in a very wonderful town. I'm proud as punch to be here. But if you got a $2 or $3 million home, you're doing okay for yourself. So I think the cap makes common sense.
Good.
And
We looked at the properties and it really, the effects were pretty minimal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like anyone that was receiving a benefit.
I think was it 4? Only
It's gonna
4
take a
that
big, it's
qualified?
gonna take a big hit on the
Yeah.
change.
I think it was only 4 individuals that
It
qualified.
Intended to even it out and make it a little more fair.
5.
But
Currently,
this
yeah.
gives us, it can't run away. If we put this cap in.
It's correct.
It can't have a
So that's part
Run
of,
away.
That's part of the-
The 5 that it applies to are gonna get a substantial tax break,
Right.
but they're still gonna pay some taxes on a very nice home.
yeah. So the median cap being 403,250. If the current mill rate stays the same, which,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going based on that number because that's a known number. Our current those 5 people that would be affected by the cap on strictly the building and no lot would be receiving a tax reduction of 6,545 at the current mill rate. The
Total.
total.
Yeah.
Each.
Oh, each. Okay.
Each, yes. The building with lot cap does affect more. It affects 12 of our veterans. But again, they're still receiving that same reduction of 6,545 at the 1623. There's a handful that are receiving a lower dollar amount because their properties are not at that higher value, the total value.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The kind of thought process is if we continue to have more people purchase property, more money comes off the grand list. Obviously, putting that cap on it keeps it from just kind of running away with it. The cap can be revisited at any time, and it can be revisited during each reval process as well. The median cap for the next 5 years isn't going to change from that 403 because that's the median cap for the reval. Yeah, we wouldn't adjust it year over year. We would only adjust it based on reval.
Okay, makes sense.
Any questions from the board?
It's a lot.
There's a lot to take into the meetings too.
There's
So because it is a lot, I'd like to take your recommendation. I'm thinking that we should work this into a motion that perhaps we have a special meeting next week after our budget hearing or just before our budget hearing at 12 o'clock, where we could draft this motion so that we include every single piece and make it correct going forward. The ordinance will also have to be changed. I would also like to deal with that too, because then it could go to the town meeting at the same time on January 26th. Get our bang for the buck at the town meeting. If that's agreeable to the two of you, that
Yeah,
Melinda and I can work on a draft. If you sort of pick the points that you would like to have included, and we can come to some agreements on those tonight.
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something. So on our plate is, let's say, if we take the recommendation, 2 acres plus building with a median price cap. So that's one thing we decide. Another thing we decide, well, and I think it's a no-brainer, we need to bring our exemption into alignment with the state limits.
Correct. And leave the language like that so that if the
So that, yeah,
change.
so that, that we're always, in agreement there. And then another thing would be to allow for the exemption of service members who passed previous to October 2024.
Sure.
And then, and the Gold Star family members would be an additional,
whole different ordinance.
ordinance.
It's separate from
Yeah.
the 1281,
That's-
19,
Right.
20, 21, 23.
That's not currently in our ordinance, so that would.
No,
have
we
to
need,
be
we need an ordinance.
That would be, yeah. So those are the
We
4
will
things on
for
our plate.
addition to our court. Can we amend the one that
New
we currently have? Would have to be totally new.
It's
Okay.
under a different statute.
Okay.
Mhm.
This also requires legal, because they like to legalese everything. We'll do our best to draft it as quickly as possible so that we can get it to them.
Does that pretty much does that cover what we have to decide?
Yes.
Okay.
Attached was an actual breakdown of all of your current veterans and the values. There are no names, there are no addresses. For obvious reasons. You'll see the total acreage, building lot. And then down at the bottom, you see the breakout of if you were to only do the building, if you were to do building lot and full building lot and building value with cap and then value with building lot and cap. So each one of the options is broken out for you. in dollar amounts, and then also using the current mill rate.
And if I didn't have a chance to fully read it, but if I understood it, with the Gold Star families, it would be the surviving widow or widower and the minor children. But once the children reach the age of majority, that property is no longer exempt if it's in their name.
Correct.
That follows all the statutes
Right.
of the minor surviving children.
And I think in the state legislation that the term minor goes up into including 4 years of college.
Right.
That they go up to like 18 is legal age, but if the individual child is still a student, it goes up to 22 or 23, I believe.
Correct.
And the widower is as long as they
And
live in
the-
the house and that they're
That
still,
can't be transferable either.
if
And
if
be a minor.
they get remarried,
They
then
no longer are eligible for the exemption.
You have a question, Martha?
If those minor children go on to law school, is that?
I don't have that
4
answer.
years- 4 years of college or
I don't have that
for as
answer.
long as you'd like to go?
I would have to do some research on that.
I,
I'm not gonna BS you.
I
mean, they go to medical school, they're in school till they're 30.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's
I got a
within
cousin who's in medical
standards, so
school,
I
he's
think
29 years old.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I just think we need to.
No, you're right, the
specifically say
specifics,
that,
Mhm.
the specific age number.
There are some.
I know with medical, it's TRICARE young adult carries the child up to age 26, and then after 26, I don't care if they're still in school, they fall off.
Yeah.
That's military healthcare.
Yeah, we can,
It's state healthcare too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they fall off, which is fine.
Yep.
Get a job.
we can actually find out through the veteran statutes. It
Right.
defines it.
A lot of those details are not in the House Bill 5491, which was initiated by the congressperson out of New London. I forget his name. Blackstone.
Nolan, Anthony Nolan.
Yes, wonderfully. I say younger than me. He initiated this 4 years ago.
Okay,
Been going for a while.
so if Melinda and I work up a draft and we send this to you via for comments. And then
Yes.
continue to work through the ordinance, we'll do that. Anybody chooses that they want to take their stab at the ordinance change, I'm more than willing, but we are happy to draft something up. I'll draft. Melinda will check. We'll send it to both of you. And then send it to legal and push forward to get this through as quickly as possible so we can get it on the agenda for the town meeting, which will save Melinda a lot of time doing the.
The wording for our current exemption is included in the documents I gave you, or our current ordinance and what's missing.
Okay,
Moving on.
all right, are we good with that?
Yep.
Okay, let's look at revisiting House Bill 7067, which is the municipal option to apply a modified schedule of depreciation for motor vehicles under section 12-63. Section.
You're allowed. Okay, so the current motor vehicle valuations are based on MSRP and a depreciation set by the state, starting at 85%. Last year, right around the time that we closed the grand list, the state included the option to increase our depreciation schedule, starting at 90% of MSRP. It moves all of the depreciation schedule up by 5%, starting at 90% and ending at 20% for vehicles for 15 years to 19 years. Anything 15 years and below would be included in the 20%, but not less than $500. The grand list last year, we chose not to increase the depreciation schedule.
Right.
It is again available. And I would say, the numbers are kind of the same. The total impact to this year's grand list. Apologize, I shuffled my papers.
Okay,
Lost my notes.
and you're telling us that some of the area towns, Lyme, et cetera, has made those changes.
Yes, so currently the town of East Lyme has made their depreciation schedule begin at 90. The town of Lyme just enacted, starting their depreciation schedule at 90. The town of Westbrook has not increased, but it is in discussion. The town of Old Saybrook has decided not to increase their exemption. The current change to our grand list is an estimate because the grand list is still in process. And I shuffled my papers. I'm sorry. That's okay.
You make your move.
Okay, I'll just. Feel scatterbrained. There we go. The current change to our grand list would increase our values by 949,000. It's a total of, using last year's mill rate, it's a total increase of 15,412. Using last year's mill rate, I am not giving out figures because the figures are not finalized. So I can't really tell you 100% what the numbers are. The current estimate for the motor vehicle grand list is about 101 million. It'll change it to 109 million.
It's a tax increase no matter how you cut it.
It's a tax increase no
They
matter
can
how you
decide,
cut it.
decide to, yeah.
Yep. Every vehicle would be affected by it.
Not only every vehicle, but a vehicle that's 15 years is gonna go, the cost of taxes is gonna go up.
Correct.
And to me, if somebody's holding on a vehicle for 15 years,
Mhm.
that's the group of people that we were talking about earlier today that are probably having more trouble making ends meet. And to me, I don't think that's this, it's kind of a trickle down to pay up.
Mhm.
And to me, I don't think that we should be changing the schedule to actually do that.
I agree. I was against it last year and I don't have any new thinking on that. I'm still against it.
So do we need to make a motion? I don't think we do because it stays as same. Right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So
It's more because we're coming
Or
to
do you
the
want-
end of the grand list season and
do
we
you
need
want
to
us to
make
make a
that
motion
decision.
and say we're not changing? Would that be easier for you?
Sure. Yeah, because then we can put it in the records.
I'll make a motion to retain the current tax schedule.
I'll second.
Yes. Okay, John, Jim, any further discussion? Hearing none. Call for a vote. All those in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and we'll have so much fun sitting down to draft this.
I
Very-
appreciate your time.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
And Kevin, thank you, because I appreciate the fact that you've been persistent on this since I was elected in 21. And I know.
Better before that one.
Well,
That's not even 70 years old, you guys do.
okay,
I started it before the London guy started. He took some of my ideas to the State House.
great. Okay. So we are moving on to our selectmen general discussion. I am going to start for both of you, handing you a piece of information that I received. This started out. Jim had mentioned finding the land at 102-1 Mile Creek Road. And at the CCM conference, Jim came across this company called TRC. And I had a very nice conversation with Ryan, who wrote up this proposal. One of the things that we had looked at is, and on the back attachments, you'll see some emails back and forth from Senator Murphy's office about a brownfield grant, which I would have liked to apply for, but I don't think this is the time. But TRC would be willing to work for this because there's a second round of that brownfield grant. So basically, TRC is willing to, for $4,500, come in and do an assessment of the property to determine what is there, what is actually an environmentally, sorry, I lost my wording, environmentally unsound, that we need to correct it, and how we would go about it a bit. And then Ryan said they are willing to help us write the grant because they do this all the time, so that they can get us grants. And he mentions in his letter a variety of things that we can look at besides the one that was mentioned from Senator Murphy's office. So, this is $4,500.
Now,
There,
when I talked to them, they had mentioned that they'll do a free walkthrough with me too. I mean, initially that they'll come down with an initial kind of,
yes, he said they have many people in the Connecticut area that they can send to do the initial walkthrough. If you'd like, I would be more than happy to reach out to him first today. And because I'm not saying that we have to vote on this today.
right?
It's a new piece of information. I don't expect you to act on it today. But, and it wasn't on our agenda. He just got it to me today. So, I haven't had time to read through it all as well. But I'm happy to ask him that question if somebody would give us an idea of what they think. And one of you can accompany him because I haven't been there. Have you been there?
No.
He has.
It's something, I think that there's a lot of grants available for it, but that's the reason I didn't jump on this brownfield grant. I think it has to be assessed. We don't know what's there. I mean, I can tell you there's car parts and there's junk cars and there's a bottle dump. And it obviously was a dump.
But not a town dump. It wasn't a town dump.
Well, it's town land and it's been town land for a long time.
Yeah, I think
so
it's been more like a neighborhood dump.
Yeah, but we own it, so,
Right.
and the fact that it borders the Black Hall River, I think it's a high priority to figure out what's going on there. And the answer could be leave it alone. The answer could be, hey, you got a bunch of 55-gallon drums down there, you gotta get them out. So, but there are a lot of grants available for that kind of remediation. But I think the first step is definitely to assess what's going on, and I'm certainly not qualified to do that, so.
No.
Getting some professional help. You could.
Yeah, I think it's pretty kind of intriguing, the land. It's sitting useless right now. And I think if we could assess what we could do to clean it up and even consider would we want to do anything with it? Do we not want to do anything with it? But without knowing what's there and what's needed for cleanup, if any, we can't answer any of that. So I would be in favor of moving forward with that.
I think we can all agree that we don't think we should leave it as the dump status that it is now, that we do need to clean it up at least.
Well, we need to figure out what's there.
Yeah,
Right.
whatever we do, we can't just
Right.
do nothing. Yeah, we should, now that we're aware of it, and it's actually Mike Barnes that made me aware of it, so credit goes to him on that. Then we can decide later on how we approach, what we do with it, but.
Okay, so why don't both of you take some time to read this and digest this information? I will call Ryan and see if there's a walkthrough person that would be available to come and look, but once the snow is gone. I think it's better for you. And I also think we need to have some communication with the owner for 102, because I believe the right of way to 102-1 is through their property. So I would like to also let him know what we are thinking about doing, just for purposes.
Mhm.
I know at one time he mentioned to me, if you're gonna do something with it, I'd rather buy it from you. But I don't think that's where we are right at the moment, because I think it would be not something we want to do in the condition it's in. The other thing I just want you both to know is that the historic district was meeting this morning. And I came in and they had the Duck River Garden Club COA to vote on. And initially there was a motion on the floor to deny the blue and gold status signs. Mary Ellen Basham had come with me. We had marked out a spot on either side of the evergreen in that court would be 20 feet back from the sidewalk. And it's about 41 inches from this sidewalk on this part of the building over, so that it cannot interfere with the passageway. And then we figured out where symmetrically it would sit on the other side from the curb. And we gave them those 2 points. They feel that this is our, these memorials are redundant to what's already out in front. And and they said too much signage for town hall. I said that I thought it was unfair that they were doing this hearing without Mary Ellen and the Duck River Garden Club here. They were not present at it, and they had,
Were they invited? I mean,
well, they said it was on the agenda. I
Right,
said,
okay.
usually when I have someone who is going to be considered on the agenda, I make sure they're going to be here. They had not done so. So, they decided to remove the motion and continue the hearing instead. So it would be done at the February meeting, and I said that we had voted unanimously to hopefully do it there, but if not, we would find another place. And they offered, and we talked about using the Sill Lane green, and I said, I think that that's inappropriate for the fact that there's no parking available. You are going to have, we've already had enough accidents possibly happen there with that triangle that I didn't really, like the idea of people crossing Boston Post to get over to, well, it's Lime Street, it's right at the verge where it changes to Boston Post. But I said, I just think it's very dangerous to put it there because people can't come and read it. Was in Saybrook today for a meeting with Carl Fortuna, and I asked him how they put theirs on Main Street, and he said, we just put it there because that's where we wanted it. They did ask me if I could do an executive order to place it where I wanted it. I said I wasn't exactly sure that that was something I would do if I had that power. But they said maybe the Board of Selectmen can override us. I said, well, I didn't think we really wanted to override them, but we did think that they should consider it more. So I said that perhaps we could be at their February meeting and, or at least write to them your feelings. I said, I think it's pretty impressive that we qualify for both markers. I said that, I think that it's an honor. I don't find those historic markers to be what they consider signage. I think they're pretty impressive. So I didn't have a problem with it. But if either of you do, or if you want to think of another place for the Duck River Garden Club, I'm pretty sure they've gone on to approve purchasing them. We said that we would find a place if that wasn't.
I think we had a pretty thorough discussion.
Yeah.
So Lane is an option, but I think we all agreed on Town Hall.
That's what I said. It's unanimous.
Well, we agreed upon that base, and we knew that it would have to go before the Historic Commission. We talked about the Tree Commission, so we knew that there were some hurdles, and we felt confident getting the markers. But I think we need to be respectful of committees and boards that we have in town, and obviously their thinking is not in line with what we were thinking.
Well, they hadn't voted on it yet. They only had the
Right.
motion on the floor.
So, I mean, in my mind, I knew that there was options. I mean, even the Duck River Garden Club had those Sill Lane as an option. So I still think there's not a lot up in that area. I think that's definitely a viable option. There is, parking on the little through street. You don't have to park on Sill Lane or Boston Post Road. So I think that's still, in my mind, it's an option since there's opposition from the HDC. Then
That's also HDC has to approve that. as
right,
well.
but I think that they would be more open to having the markers up there because there's just less there. And my understanding is that they're part of the opposition is the volume of stuff at Town Hall. So there's not the volume at Sill Lane. So I think, let's see how it pans out, but I think we should keep an open mind also.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a perfectly fine spot for it too. So if that's more amenable to the historic district, then it's
Okay.
an option.
Well, then I would ask that you weigh in before the February meeting so that they have your thoughts, unless you want to be here for that one. But I will talk to Mary Ellen about being here, make sure
Sure.
that she's here. She's back here. So do either of you have any general discussion items that you would like to bring up? Gee, you're very quiet people. Okay.
Hey, you're always telling me to shut up.
Yeah. Okay. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second.
6:51.